Okay, so I loved how Adam da Silva incorporated duck in a comfort food like lasagna. I thought I'd do a bit of a continuation using duck, but using it in a ragu with a pappardelle. But the sauce I'm going to kick off by infusing some Marcel chicken stock with some beautiful dried chanterelle mushrooms, which is going to bring a wonderful earthiness to the dish. Set it aside and just let that rehydrate. Next, the duck. So we're not going to use duck mince, we're going to use the good old duck leg. So we're simply going to season these with some salt flakes. We're going to brown these off and render down some of that flavoursome duck fat. Pop it on the stove, and then skin side down, we're going to colour and render these duck legs. All right, so a touch of salt just on the underside. So these have had about a minute, and this is what you're after. So at this stage, you can now drop the heat or let them gently render for about 12 or so minutes, which whilst that's doing its thing, let's talk about the mirepoix. So classically, onions, celery, carrots, and leek. I'm just going to use some leek and some carrots. So I'll cut this in half. And for the leek, obviously, it's really important to get rid of some of the dirt. As it's grown through the soil, it still collects a little bit of dirt here. So we'll just run this on under the cold tap. And then we'll chop him up. Same size as the carrot. This doesn't have to be too fine because this is going to give our sauce a bit of texture. Next, hard herbs. So I've got here some bay, which I love. Really easy to grow. Then some thyme. I'm just going to kind of roughly chop the thyme leaves. All right, thyme straight in with the vegetables. And next, we want plenty of garlic. So 3 or 4 cloves, all important. We're just going to smash this up to then just roughly run the knife across. Garlic in. As with many pasta dishes, I'd finish it with some freshly torn basil at the end. I think it's really nice to use the basil stalks as well. They harbour loads of flavour, colour, nutrients. Let's use them up. All right, so let's have a look at our ducks. So as you can see, there's plenty of that liquid gold, the duck fat itself, loads of flavour. Now we're just going to turn this over and we're just going to gently sear the flesh side for about a minute. And then we're just going to move these out of the pan like so. Just set them aside. And then we're going to drop the heat down just a touch. Then we go straight in with our chopped vegetables and herbs. So this now is all about just sweating down the vegetables. To caramelise it slightly and just to develop the sugars and the sweetness of the carrots and the leek. Next, we're going to add some tomato paste. So just grab yourself a couple of spoons and tomato straight in there, like so. So this will give us a few things. So some body, also that beautiful, rich red colour. All right, so that's looking really good. But you can kind of just smell that's ready for a bit of red wine. It's high heat now, so we're just going to splash that in. We'll give it a stir. I'm just going to prise away any remnants of that caramelised tomato paste on the bottom of the pan, which is all flavour. All right, so give it a minute, and then finally, we're going to wind in our Marcel chicken stock, which of course has been infused by these beautiful, earthy, dried chanterelles. Grab our duck legs, so we'll drop that in. Awesome. Next, we'll pop on some grease-proof paper so they're nice and snug, and they're just going to gently cook away, lid on, and in the oven for about an hour and a half. Okay, so our duck has had about an hour and a half, so we'll have a little peek. Take her out the oven. Take that paper, and as you can see, that's beautiful. And that smells pretty special indeed. I'm just going to remove the duck legs from the sauce. We want these to cool slightly before we pick off all that beautiful meat and then return it back into our sauce. All right, so over to our duck legs. So we've got 4 legs here. We've allowed them to cool. You don't need to be a hero. To get your hands, we'll just pry. So as you can see, the meat's just falling off the bone. And I'll just kind of loosely shred it. I don't want it to be picked to an inch of its life. I still want a bit of texture in there. Set the skin aside if you like, but I just like all that skin and flavour through the ragu. Now, I love duck. I love cooking with it, and for me, for some reason, it's still fairly underutilised at home. It's unfortunately perceived as somewhat challenging to cook, and it couldn't be further from the truth. But if you want to start somewhere, I would highly recommend start with a duck leg. Okay, so the duck legs are picked, and you can see there's a huge yield of meat there, these sort of nuggets of flavoursome protein. So we're going to wind that and go straight into the sauce. Sauce looks great. Give them a little taste. It's beautiful, it's earthy, it's rich. It needs some acid just to cut through the richness of the sauce. So I'm going to use a vinegar. I'll use a little bit of sherry vinegar straight in. It's lovely and saucy. But of course, we're actually going to incorporate a little bit pasta water, which is going to give it more body and a little bit more flavour. So here, I've cooked off some pappardelle in some salted water. So I'm just going to wind that straight in. And just a touch of that beautiful cooking liquor. And we'll carefully give this a little bit of a toss. Salt and pepper on top. Little plug of olive oil. I think it's really nice just to garnish this with some fresh Parmigiano Reggiano just over the top with a little vegetable peeler. And then finally, I'm just going to tear over some of this fresh basil. So of course you can individually plate this, but I love to just pop something like this in the middle of the table, fresh salad, glass of wine, just let the family fight over it. And that for me is total comfort food and really demonstrates the versatility of duck. We've seen two amazing lasagna dishes from Grace and Adam. And of course, this pretty banging duck pappardelle, improved by the infusion of dried chanterelles in the Marcel chicken stock. This for me makes me very happy indeed.